high vehicle and pedestrian stripes. Other areas of downtown lighting that we were able to do with vintage neon pieces of art. So what we don't refer to as neon signs, but artwork that had been in storage for 30 plus years. And then the conservation of a 1942 GE jet engine, the first U.S. manufactured jet engine made here in 1942. We then grew up as an organization, filed as a 501c3. Prior to that, we were fiscally aligned to the nonprofit arm of the Lynn Housing Authority, NDA, and split into really two distinct parts of the organization. Street art would be installed with professional artists, be them local, regional, national or international talent that would dovetail to an educational resource that we provide the public schools here in Lynn and after-school programs here in Lynn for free. And design response projects where we talk to a community, find out challenges of their built environment, and then try and take a creative lens to addressing those challenges. It's a very diverse team and a diverse board. I think many in the room will know many of these parties on this team. I'm joined tonight.
Excuse me, could you speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You might want to sit down because it makes it easier.
I thought you were asking me to stand like that.
Oh,
it was
did I?
really awkward for me. I'm joined here tonight by a fantastic intern, going into her senior year at Lynn Classical, someone who I'm convinced we will all be working for someday, Andy, who I see here with her parents. So thank you, Andy, for being here. So. Just some of the design response projects. They've taken us to a number of gateway cities, Boston, Cambridge as well. It runs the gamut. It's based on what the challenges are of the built environment for these communities. And then with Beyond Walls and a group of partners, we look to address those challenges. But really what we're most known for and why I'm here tonight is our sort of epic, large-scale pieces of street art. We've now installed, this slide needs updating, almost 200 plus pieces, over 13 communities, largely here in New England, many of the gateway cities of the Commonwealth. You'll be familiar with some of the larger pieces that we have here in Lynn. You may not have seen some of the pieces that we have in Holyoke or Chicopee or Fall River or Lowell or Haverhill or some of the other cities. But I'm just sort of speed rounding. These are on the way from Springfield to Holyoke. This is a Portuguese artist. This is actually chipped into the building. Vils in Chicopee, the Polish artist Best. Ernesto, this is our newest piece here in Lynn that we installed this last year. Cuban-American artist that installed this piece. But you'll recognize many of the pieces that are here in Lynn on this piece, but always the rules of engagement, family friendly, not overtly political. We curate to the demographics and the cultures of the communities that we're invited in to serve. We've done really large scale pieces. We've done wide walls. We've done vertical walls. We've done public buildings. We've done private buildings. The Bar Foundation shares that we've put up more public art in Massachusetts than any other organization in the history of Massachusetts. So we put up an awful lot of public art. We've done a lot of mixed medium pieces. So this is actually, you'll recognize that we did some smaller pieces with this artist here in Lynn. This is a 5-story plastic moose in Holyoke. We worked with the community here in Lynn to collect plastic for this artist to install his piece in 2019, and then 2 years ago in Holyoke for this piece there. But we've also, through this work, and I mentioned it before, the educational resource, as we've grown as an organization, we've been invited in to serve more and more public schools and after-school programs with installing art where the youth are, right? So actually going to them. And I'm just going to show some brief examples of that. The first installed piece on a higher education facility in the state was done here in Lynn, in North Shore Community College. Beyond Walls did this piece in 2020 with the artist Percy Fortini Wright. It's actually that exact intersection at night as you're waiting in line in traffic sometimes there at the light in Lynn, you'll see this. But just an awful lot of pieces, either YMCA's, this is the Y here in Lynn, higher education facilities, this is at UMass Lowell, this is also on a nuclear reactor tank at UMass facility, the front facade of Middlesex Community College. An artist, Kevin Lido, that we've worked with, we did a piece here with youth from the YMCA in Lynn, and then facilitated through a collaboration with another nonprofit, a sister piece in Mozambique. Did a video cultural exchange with youth in Lynn to youth in Mozambique. We mirrored this project and did this piece down at a middle school, Durham Middle School in Fall River, and with youth in Colombia. This is 127 portraits of Lynn youth. This was a temporary install at Lynn Community Health Center. That's a mixed media piece, a tile mosaic at Boys and Girls Club in Lynn. So lots of other Massachusetts cities are also doing this, and not just through Beyond Walls, but many others. Mayor Wu in Boston recently announced a $3 million investment in public art to go to 13 public schools in Boston. Powwow Worcester installed pieces at elementary, middle, and high schools in Worcester in 2017, 2018, and 2019. So, and this is just some of the recent sort of headlines coming out of Boston and how they're actually funding that. So we've taken it on ourselves, Beyond Walls, to figure out ways to support our work in Lynn without being a burden on the resources of Lynn. So we'll certainly take state and federal dollars when they come our way from the city. We've never tasked the city with funding any part of our installations or our work with youth. It differs when we go outside of Lynn. An example would be, and I was hoping he'd be here, Kevin Lido, the artist that I just showed, just installed a piece with Fall River Public Schools paying $28,500 out of their budget for an installation at their middle school. So it's fairly sizable investments to bring in some of the world's best street artists to do these pieces. What we've tried to do here in Lynn is to get more and more youth exposed to the arts. So we've now led thousands of youth from Lynn on public school mural tours, right? That we've worked with LPS and we're working with the superintendent now to really try and figure out ways that we can do this even better. So we've created 19 lesson plans around our art. Working with a number of educators, we've created these in 5 languages. They run the gamut. Some are for elementary, some are for middle school, some are for high school levels. Just some examples of the lesson plans. They're available digitally. They're available for free online on our website. And some of the school systems that we've worked with. What we've done differently this year is thinking about how can we actually curate a better experience for the educators and for the artists. And so it's a cohort. We're bringing in artists that we're then tying to Lynn educators. They're actually spending time together. So we're having meals together. We're doing a community cleanup together. The educators are informing the artists of some of the challenges of the school system, what their kids are going through. That informs the artwork. The output on the artist is to put up a new piece of art. The output on the educator is to create a lesson and a lesson plan that's specific for his or her students. That lesson plan will then be taught in the fall with Beyond Walls facilitating a street art tour for those youth. So these are the educators that we've been working with. We've brought in some additional resources to help on some of the creation of the lesson plans and some of the themes that have emerged. I'm here today to sort of share, our plans were to install these on private buildings, and that's how we're moving forward. There is an opportunity, and I would ask that I'm open to how we could facilitate this, and some feedback that there's a strong desire to install artwork on public schools, namely Reed Middle School and Lynn Classical. We've heard over the years that Breed Middle School would be advantageous to install art at. It's sort of institutional in look and feel. We feel it would be a great fit after working with many, many youth from Breed. but also Lynn Classical has come into the picture. Many of our lesson plans skew to that level of education, and specifically to ESL learners at the high school level. I'm open for any questions or comments, but I really appreciate being invited in. I appreciate all the work that Lynn Public Schools and the educators have put into this program under the leadership of the superintendent and for the mayor for giving me this time today.
Mr. Reed?
Al, thanks so much. I think we're all big fans of your work, especially we see it every day as we go throughout the city. And I think this is a great idea, like you said, bringing the spaces to where the youth are already at, and engaging them in the process. I guess a couple questions. With a project like these, would it be student art, and would we have student artists from the actual schools where they're being built? Because to me, I think the engagement and actually ensuring that these students are there is probably the biggest piece to this all.
Yeah, I mean, we have a few things. We have a tight window here in the Commonwealth to install art. Effectively, anytime Beyond Walls has tried to install artwork outside of the window of June 1st to September 30th, there's challenges that arise based on weather. Either it's too wet or it's too cold. Our other challenge is we work with professional artists. We work with international, local, acclaimed artists. They have to be able to put up a piece on this size of a building, this sort of the epicness of the piece. There's some size and scale, and that requires machinery. OSHA, all of our artists are trained in OSHA certified lift operation. You have to be 18 plus to get that certification. So we've tried to work with educators, the salt of the earth, rubber meets the road, who is actually dealing with the youth and teaching the youth and to understand the youth. That's who we want to be informed in. Our brand of putting up art is to work with professional artists. That's not to say that we own the space, right? There's lots of other groups, including some fabulous organizations here in Lynn. Raw Artworks readily comes to mind, uses art as a means of therapy, and does do youth installed art pieces. And I would certainly push for them to be involved in artwork at public schools as well. That's just not our brand and not what we do.
Really appreciate it. Do you have any questions? I do, but do you?
We think, just to share, we think there's a power to the fact we can install artwork here through our program where our artists are then, many of these artists are making their, really good careers on installing in jet set communities. They come to Lynn because we have a brand and they know the reasons why we're asking them to come to Lynn. We always pay our artists, but quite frankly, it's a pittance versus what they get elsewhere. We think there's a power to exposing youth to art of this magnitude with no barriers of entry, no cost of entry, no rules of engagement and how they take in that art. I think there's a power to doing that at schools. And we're hearing from Boston Public Schools and many of the school systems that we're working with in other gateway cities of the Commonwealth. They're having trouble getting kids to come back to school. They haven't seen kids come back from COVID. Truancy. They're having trouble on retention of public school teachers. So I think it's for a multitude of reasons that they're thinking out of the box and trying to bring art to schools. And they're either working with Beyond Walls or they're working with organizations like us to bring in these types of artists.
Absolutely. And I think the benefit, I think, is clear to most of us. I just think, one of the things that we hope that we can continue to work with you on is finding a way that we can incorporate our local artists, because we have so much talent within the Lynn Public Schools, and if there's a way that we can make them part of this process.
They've been many of the local artists that we've worked with, we've worked as sort of assistants. If they're youth, they worked as assistants with us, like Janaya, who I think we all now know, right? She was a longtime intern with us that we developed and then named her as a Beyond Walls artist. But it was taking her from the ability to do work on canvases to then larger pieces to then being able to get her certified in lift operation and put on a much bigger wall. So we'll continue to do that, but Michael Agahawa, you name the local artist, Anna Dugan, we've worked with them. Even the artists that were here in the 90s and the 80s that were doing this work long before Beyond Walls existed, Temp, Realm, we've worked with.
Member Gately.
So you said you have a tight window of time, June 1st through the September 30th, but this is the last school meeting?
We were
school
bringing
committee
in
meeting?
artists into Lynn.
No, that's not my question.
Oh, okay.
My question is, why didn't this presentation come to us in a timely fashion so that we could go out to the community, we could talk to the people around Breed, we could see what they wanted? We don't even know what you want to paint on the school. What are you planning to paint? How is that selective? Is there any oversight with our school superintendent, with our deputy superintendents? These are the questions that I have. And then, after it's done on our buildings, these are our pride and joy, our school buildings. And ISD works relentlessly trying to keep them up. And the major question they have is who's going to maintain it afterwards when they chip off and they start to look old and worn? It's like, these are the questions that I have to answer in my community on this project. I love your walls. I'm not saying they're not beautiful. I understand the magnitude of them. But I would like to see more student involvement in the process, even if it was them drawing, making the picture on a small scale, and then your artists come back next year and paint it on the building because it's approved, it's given us time, we can get it done. But we have so many gifted students that, we just do cleanup day, and we have the posters, and we have it on a big bulletin board, what their poster looks like, and it brings them so much pride. And that's what I think on our schools, and as a school committee member, that's what I would like to see for our students. So that's where, today I've been working on this and looking through all avenues and reaching out to people all day, and it's really rushed. And what I find as a school committee member, if something is rushed, it's not good for me to move it forward because I always get bit.
That all makes total sense. That's very rational in thought and practice. This was not a plan to bring these to public schools this summer. The intent of this working cohort was to figure out how we can create an educational resource in a better way with the artwork being put on private buildings as part of our current tour, right? Within the structure of the tour. It was presented later as an opportunity to put artwork at public schools. Our artwork that we've installed in Fall River, for example, that was done with a principal desiring it at the middle school, the superintendent agreeing, and us signing an agreement with the superintendent to install artwork there. Same rules apply to all our artwork. Family-friendly, unovertly political. That's it. We don't give a sketch. The way we're pulling in artists is because they want to work in the community. They have creative liberty and creative license. We use fantastic paint, right? Really good UV protection paint, but it's like any paint. They'll eventually fade. None of this work is permanent. None of it. None of it in Boston that they're putting up, none of it in any of these communities. The idea here is you've created a canvas. That canvas exists today for this artwork. Our license and our agreement says that we'll take on all liability to install that, and we take on all costs here in Lynn. It has to stay up for a year. Thereafterwards, if you want to paint over, you're free to do so. But it's then an opportunity for another piece of artwork and another artist, right? But it would be just like painting a rail you know, like eventually it is going to weather and it is going to chip.
Yes.
And that is what you take on.
So you're not planning on doing it this summer, you're planning on doing it next summer?
No, we're planning on August 5th through the 21st. We're installing 2 new pieces of artwork here in Lynn. We're installing our plan was to install, like many of these pieces that I showed here, these are on privately owned buildings. And so that was our plan. It got brought to our attention that there was a desire to bring that artwork to public schools. And so I shared how that's been happening elsewhere. And I agree with the logic and the thinking of doing that. I think there's an awful lot of studies that have indicated that's has all sorts of benefits. And so if it was to the committee and to the Public Building Commission and to the mayor and to the superintendent a good idea to do that, we would happily do that. But we've been working with this cohort since January. You know, the idea of the school walls was brought up, I think, less than a month ago. And at the time, I brought it to different folks' attention, but it wasn't available to come to committee. And that's not anyone's fault, I don't think. I think it just genuinely has become more of a narrative. Certainly the Boston announcement has been far more in the public than maybe some of the announcements that some of these other cities had made in regards to their support to bring public art to their schools. But it's also, you know, it's the desire to bring in this artist, Smug, and his desire to feature a Lynn resident that was giving back to the community led to that piece. If I tried to dictate to Smug what that art piece was, he would have never come to Lynn. We would have never got that piece of art. So it's my job as an organization to figure out ways to fund the work that I can do in Lynn and to build a board that keeps me solvent and to figure out the team to do the work. But again, I don't own the space. There's lots of other groups that do different types of artwork. What you're describing just isn't our brand or our style of work, right? Our work is to work with an artist that, you know, that's 135 foot. He's on top of a boom working in aerosol off of a photo he took and live painting it. Okay. And I geek out at the skill that takes and what that skill then draws to the city, right? That draws an attention to the city. There's an economic output to that. There's a community development output to that. And a desire that I think enhances the city to be able to do all sorts of things. I think it's systemic. But I would welcome an opportunity to do this. This happens to be the last meeting of the school year, and I recognize that. We've done 200 plus pieces. If the school was to allow us to put it up at Breed or Classical, we could certainly do it. We've done it at a number of schools. Or I'd entertain coming back and chatting further and figuring out a way to do this in a follow-up year.
Member Castellanos.
Al, thank you, as always, for your presentations and just thorough explanation on trying to collaborate and enhance a partnership with us. You know, there are processes, I think Member Gately, that, you know, she mentioned earlier that are valid. You know, we like to vet certain student experiences or situations that could impact, you know, student experience in a way like this. Because there's buildings like Breed and Classical who, you know, when this art is on display, they'll be seeing it every day. Staff will be seeing it every day, so that's important. I think there is if you haven't been involved in beyond wall experiences, you know, there's reservations of what that looks like, you know, especially like the creative discretion that you're talking about. It does create a little bit of a suspense. I do like that you presented some other districts that executed the project. Can you talk about a little bit more about how that happened, like the projects in Worcester, Lowell, and Boston? I think you talked about Boston, but could you kind of elaborate a little bit more on how they executed that project and what type of capacity that looked like?
Yeah, and speak on our end, you know,
And cost.
Yeah, we've done 3 years of calls for cities. So cities have applied for Beyond Walls to consider installing artwork there. So they've come to us. Our sort of rules of engagement on these collaborations is that we need to see residents, the business community, and elected officials and department heads at these meetings. And then afterwards, we try and tie into the school systems. We try and find the teachers, find the educators, find the administration. In all cases, these cities have paid Beyond Walls to then do their work.
All of them?
All of them. Average cost is $25K a mural. That includes us taking on the liability, us paying for flights, accommodation, all of their paint, their food. We give them a gift card that is preloaded. They have to use that money while they are in the city, meaning that they have to go to local coffee shops, local merchants, and spend that money. We've been doing it now for 6 years. So that's the way that we've operated. We've done 3 years of expansion efforts to go to these other communities, and we've served 13 communities through that. In the meantime, we've seen other groups.
Is it 25,000 per mural?
Per mural is our average.
Okay, so you're looking at 2 schools, which is a total of 50,000.
I mentioned that. That's our cost.
Okay.
I'm not coming for a line item
Okay.
sign off here. I'm not coming to Lynn asking for payment. I've figured out a way to pay for the work through foundation support. My biggest cost outside of staffing was with United Rentals. They're now a corporate partner of Beyond Walls. That's a huge pendulum swing in the right way. But at the same time that we've decreased costs on our lift operation, our other costs have increased. The cost for installing at Breed and Lynn Classical, I wouldn't be able to give you the exact specifics, but average across almost 200 pieces is $25K a mural. Powwow Worcester did similar work, although didn't provide an educational resource behind the art. They installed it in elementary school, middle school, and a high school in 2017. They repeated that process in 2018 and 2019. They no longer are in operation. Powwow is, just not Powwow Worcester. And then we've seen other organizations and other entities pop up, most recently just based on the dollar figures that Boston is putting behind artwork. It's gotten some notoriety in Boston, but in 20 minutes I'll be meeting with an artist that just got off a wall at a middle school in Fall River. Fall River Public Schools, as mentioned, paid $28,500 for that piece.
Student involvement. So I hear a lot about the artists, right? I'm hearing a lot about the process, the experiences, the results. See it 200, or again, I think remember Reed pointed, you drive through the city, we're very well versed in Beyond Walls results. But I think part of the discrepancy is allowing access, right, in our spaces that our students and staff are occupying. Mm-hmm. Could you elaborate on how this project will include student involvement and staff as well? Because I noticed you said you had staff involved in this process. I really want to see what this experience, right? Could you just discuss what this experience is going to do for our students, right?
Yeah. I should have given more shots of the amount of tours that we've done, but the logistics behind the tours are, we've worked with, in 2019 with Thurgood Marshall Middle School, we did we paid for 6th and 7th, either 6th or 7th or 7th and 8th graders. Take the train, we walked them back to the Swampscott train station, we took the train into Lynn. We did a mural tour of the art. We went back, we did an auditorium session all school with what the kids had learned. And then we did a scavenger hunt for imagery, cultural references from the artwork in a park, local park. That was our first venture with working with LPS. We thereafterwards worked with different educators to create lesson plans, which we have in 5 languages. We have 19 of those lessons. And these are the examples of that. So we're now working with educators as part of this cohort to understand some of the challenges that the educators are hearing from their students on what the students are going through in the classroom. We're curating to that. We're finding artists that want to work with educators, that want to work in some of the focus areas that are coming up, right? And engagement is, the youth on these tours see themselves in the art, right? We've curated to the demographics of Lynn. So the feedback from the educators is that the ESL learners who are very quiet in the classroom setting suddenly become very verbal and are educating their classmates on what they see in the art. So we think we're onto something here based on the engagement level. And so we want to further develop that. And the way, our thinking on how to further develop that is to actually work with the educators who are working with the youth and curate to that experience. And that's what this working group has been doing this year.
So build 2 murals on the schools and they'll be part of the process? Is that where?
The plan was to install 2 pieces in downtown Lynn on walls that we've managed to get wall agreements. Through this work and through this cohort, in the last month, it was sort of brought to our attention that there was a desire to bring this artwork to either Breed or Lynn Classical or both. And so I think that was the catalyst for me perhaps being in here today. I'm not, I want to make it clear, I'm not coming for a line item. There is no expense tied to this work. I'm not coming in here asking for a vote on those walls, right? It seems that it's just too quick. If we were to have permission to do that, Beyond Walls is readily available and would be able to do that work. We'd be able to install family-friendly artwork at the schools. But maybe it's better for another day and another year.
Member Gately?
Any other questions?
Member.
Oh.
Member Pagno?
Thank you, Al. Thank you for the presentation. As Member Reed mentioned, many of us are familiar with your work. We appreciate your work. I appreciate the work. I just have a couple concerns. Is that, like Member Gately mentioned, this is our last meeting, and I understand you have a brand. These are big murals. These are large-scale murals, and then you have a brand where you bring, like, world-renowned artists. I mean, there's another artist that did the YMCA. I seen his work in Miami, LA, so this guy's, that particular artist I know is very, famous and stuff, and my concern is just having student engagement. I know we're not there at that process yet, but maybe we could come back, bring, table this, come back, and maybe have some kind of survey, because we need to be culturally competent, understanding what are the needs, what kind of students, are majority, what's their focus. Maybe we can have a survey or something and have the artists come in with a civic group. We have some inclusivity panel groups that are part of Breed. They have a very good, and they're very outspoken. Maybe have the artists come in, sit down, collaborate, get some ideas, because these are pride and joy. These are institutions. These are schools. And once you put an art there, we want to make sure that it impacts, it influences, and I think this is something we could come back to the table, because I think it's too early, too soon to even make a decision on anything. Because at the end of the day, the artists are great, working with educators, but we're all here in our common denominators. We're here for students. We have to be the student voice. And then I think having their input is very, very important. And that's something, I like to table this, maybe bring them back and
You have to be on the committee.
I would just say, the educators are the ones that are going in and working with these students.
Okay.
I enjoy being informed by them. I welcome the opportunity to come in. It's not about a brand, right? It's about, I have foundation support to do a certain type of work. And that work, I've figured out a way to do that work for free for Lynn, not free in other communities. But they then tie me to the outputs of that work for me to get another grant from them, right? And so I have to work within a certain scope and a certain focus. And so this isn't my style of work. This is Beyond Walls as an organization. This is how we do our work and what we do.
Yes.
But I'd welcome the opportunity to do this. I think it's very likely that we do further work on school walls in Fall River and Haverhill, including this year. And there's an ability to get tied up in what ifs that stops forward momentum. And change is hard, right? It is. But art by committee never works. I'll just go on record and say it again, right, in front of a committee. Art by committee never works. It never has, it never will, right? It's subjective. You saw that artist's work in Miami. Maybe it appealed to you. Maybe your best friend, your lifelong friend, that you agree on everything with. He hated it, right? The desire is to put up art that appeals to a lot of people that they can identify with. Certainly we take in all of these communities, right? The reason for that Portuguese artist in Chicopee is because of the sizable Portuguese community that's there in Chicopee. It's curated to that. I appreciate the time and I appreciate the invite.
Member Gately?
I would love to see you working with our student artists and maybe partnering them with one of those world-renowned artists, giving them their vision of Lynn, like what it's like with Lynn, in Lynn, and I'm sure those artists would love to try to draw or try to help them come up with that, and then they would be responsible putting them on. But right at this point, I think we're going to have to table.
I appreciate the time.
So I make a motion to table.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Gately?
Yes, table.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Gately, if I could just add, before you move on to the next item, just to thank
Oh, thank you very much.
Al for coming in, but also, it sounds like there is the really exciting project coming up here, which is the curriculum of students working with their educators who are working with world-renowned artists who are coming in this summer to our city, and I'm sure Al and the team will be keeping us posted about how that unfolds over the course of the next several weeks, so we can be witness to that as that unfolds, and some really exciting next steps in the fall as that curriculum is implemented and all those conversations happen. And it sounds like a lot of additional great conversations about how we continue to deepen and further this partnership to come. So thank you to Al. Thank you to the team that you put up there that's been advancing the work, and the funders that are supporting the work here in the city of Lynn. And look forward to the continued collaboration.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the Building and Grounds Committee is renovation request from Washington STEM. Hi. Oh, hi. I know, you're on Sentinel.
You all look wonderful there, by the way.
Thank you.
So I don't have a PowerPoint or a presentation. I do have an article. I know you don't have enough papers on your desk.
While Anthony is passing that out, the letter that Anthony submitted for ISD to consider renovating an area in the basement of the Washington School, which is now a community school, where they would like to create a space that parents would have access to clothing if they, kids grow fast and clothing is very expensive, and many of our schools do this, but they're looking for a designated space, that parents could get support of additional clothing for their children when they need it, food when they need it, but also the potential of, should it be approved, the potential of putting in a washer and dryer to help with families who are struggling with keeping clothes clean because of the cost of going to a laundromat or the cost of just not the access. I'm going to let Anthony talk a little bit about the vision of the school. The washer and dryer would be of no cost. They have been offered a donation, and ISD has shared with me that the work could be done with the use of our maintenance crew as part of the Inspectional Services Department. Anthony, if you want to share some of the...
Yeah, thanks, Deb. So, again, thank you for having me here tonight. You've all been a part of kind of this journey in community schools with both Washington and Ford. As Deb said, this is an enhancement to things we're already doing. So we've been partnered. We just celebrated 5 years with Stop and Shop. They brought their team out to kind of recognize us as one of the kind of pilots for what they do now around the state as far as food pantries go. We've gotten into work with the United Way and their partnership. Kind of a funny story, but not funny. Like this stuff just lives in my auditorium, right? So I have the food comes in, we get the bags, we do the thing, parents come through. We have donations, our teachers donate, our families donate. We have housewares. We have all kinds of partnerships that we're developing because of need. And that stuff lives in my auditorium. So it's move it to the side, bring people in, set up chairs. We identified this space that hasn't really been used or occupied and thought of how could we creatively make this into our wolves' den. We just want to put some dry shelving down there, some Tupperware, to keep items out of place, make it nice, make it welcoming for our families. Then when talking about that, we said, it'd be nice to, there's water hookup down here. It would be fantastic to get a washer and dryer. I know in the letter that was shared, it talks about laundromat and, I don't know what else was the food.
Thrift store.
Thrift store. Nothing's being sold. Nothing's being, who's going to be using the washer and dryer? Probably Mr. Fry on the weekends, right? Probably me. We do what we have to do to support. I would love for a teacher to bring back in some clothes and I can wash and freshen them up, right? Fold them nicely. I would love to, get a donation of, curtains from a house and be able to wash them and dry them. This year, I had 4 families living in cars. 4. We talk about attendance and not coming to school. I had other families who were in shelter in Quincy, take a bus here, sleeping in the airport. If I could have a kid, I think back to my youth, my mom working multiple jobs, 4 kids. If I could have a backpack full of clothes and go to school and have somebody just hook me up real quick on the side, and I would come to school the next day and feel a part of my community, why wouldn't we do that for our kids? So Whirlpool has, a program that they do, and they actually donate things like that. So we're not asking for anything. We will get it, collect it, find it, run it by you all, and but I'm just here to try to keep the work going, all the work that you have all been a part of, right? Our journey in the community school, and really making us a place that, really supports the whole family. And that's really the vision of this app.
Any questions? Member Castellanos.
First of all, I want to thank you for just presenting your heartfelt, just testimony on why it's important. I think it's critical. I don't have much to talk about it. I'd rather just make the motion. That's how I really feel strongly about it that way. I don't even think, if folks want to comment about it, but I'll entertain a motion to move this forward.
Oh, I would second that.
Yeah. So I don't even think this. Thank you. First of all, great. Thank everybody for bringing this.
Yeah, and
However-
and,
Thank you.
Kim's leaving, but, like all this, and Deb, and, just the support. It's just been amazing, so keep it going.
I would also, but before we vote on that, I just want to make sure, because ISD can be a little bit temperamental about outside people coming in. So in this
Yep.
report, you have Robinson & Cole, a law firm, was going to be coming in 3 to 4 hours on July 9th to clean out the space.
Yep.
Is that still occurring?
Yeah,
Anthony, I'll take that.
yeah.
So yes, they are still coming. I spoke to Mike Donovan today to ask if there were any issues with that happening. He expressed there are no issues with that.
Okay,
So
and
they're literally just coming in to kind of remove trash, clean up the space in order for ISD to go in and do the work that they want to do.
okay, and the second thing is, I just want to make sure it is not going to be all the public around Washington. It's going to be Washington
No,
students,
this is-
families.
This is by invitation, if you will, only. It is,
Yeah.
going to be run through us, and we'll be running it, so,
It's,
you know.
it's a
Yeah.
safety thing, and I
No,
just have to
absolutely.
make sure.
No, it is for, the students that I talk about. I don't anticipate running it 24/7 or that, but, we do have cases now that it could have affected, and if we can do this and have this space curated for that, I just think it'll be a win-win.
And the last point, you mentioned a donation from Whirlpool. Did we already approve?
No, I'm just saying to acquire the washer and dryer, we are working on that, which
Oh,
will
you're
then
working.
come back through here once we figure out how we're
Perfect.
going to.
I love the idea.
The Whirlpool reference was in reference to the article that he shared with you around a program they do.
They do it. They've been doing it for a while, so there's some.
I'm not a speed reader.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
Okay, that was all my questions. Thank you. Can we take a vote? Motion was made and seconded. The motion was to approve the Washington STEM School renovation request.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Fry.
All right. That's, wow.
Thank you, Anthony.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Fry.
Enjoy your summer.
Make a motion to adjourn the Buildings and
Oh,
Grounds.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
We will roll right into the open mic session. The open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers in the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the public schools district and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule a speaker out of order if they feel that the speaker's comments are personal in nature, that if the speaker's comments are directed at the school committee member or a member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. Anyone wishing to speak at open mic? Anyone for open mic? Last call for open mic, and we will begin the 12th regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Absent at the moment. Member Reed?
Present.
Member Satterwhite?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. If all those able could please join us to rise for a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes from the public hearing on June 13th, 2024, Committee of the Whole meeting on June 13th, 2024, and the 11th regular meeting on June 13th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is appointments.
Good evening. The first appointment is for Jackie Gallo as Interim Director of Early Learning. Jackie has worked in the early childhood field for almost 30 years. She began her career as a preschool teacher assistant at the Little Red schoolhouse in Lynn, and then a lead teacher at the JOI Child Care Center in Lynn while attaining her bachelor's in educational studies in early childhood at Salem State. She's worked for Lynn Public Schools for 20 years, and she also has done grades K to 2 as an assistant director of curriculum and instruction for early childhood. It is my pleasure she's here in the audience tonight, it's my pleasure to congratulate her as the new director of the Early Childhood Center. She will be fully overseeing the expansion of all the pre-Ks that we have across the district, as well as the pre-K grants. So her new home will eventually fully be Bennett Street. Lots and lots of 3- and 4-year-olds. Very exciting. Congratulations. Our next appointment is Leanne Palmer, Interim Director of Virginia Martin Center for the Teams Program. Leanne has been the Assistant Director of Special Education in Lynn Public Schools and has worked in special ed for over 20 years as a teacher, chairperson, program specialist. She's been overseeing preschool testing and placement of students on IEPs for preschool and been overseeing the Teams program at Lynn Tech for the past 2 years. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of New Hampshire in Childhood and Family Studies and a Master of Science in Teacher of Students with Special Needs in Elementary Programs. She has also completed her principal licensure program through Merrimack Leadership Academy. She will be overseeing the entire program at Pondview, which we're very excited about. And so from now until the actual move that we're anticipating in January, all of the operations will live under Leanne. So congratulations to you. Thank you both. We have 2 nurse elections this evening. One is Lindsay Crowley. What is the will of the committee?
The will of the school committee is to elect Lindsay Crowley, BSN.
Is there a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Lindsay Crowley.
Member Dugan?
Lindsay Crowley.
Member Gately?
Lindsay Crowley.
Member Pena?
Lindsay Crowley.
Member Reed?
Lindsay Crowley.
Member Satterwhite?
Lindsay Crowley.
Mayor Nicholson?
Lindsay Crowley.
The second nurse election this evening is for Rachel Ackerley Morabito. What is the will of the committee?
The will of the committee is to elect Rachel Ackley Marabito for hire
Second.
approval.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Rachel Ackerley Marabito.
Member Dugan?
Rachel Ackerley Marabito.
Member Gately?
Rachel Ackley Marabito.
Member Pena?
Rachel Ackley Marabito.
Member Reed?
Rachel Ackerley Marabito.
Member Satterwhite?
Rachel Ackley Marabito.
Mayor Nicholson?
Rachel Ackerley Morabito. Congratulations, both the nurses. Next item is a vote to approve the bullying intervention and prevention plan.
And I invite Mr. Charlie Gallo
There he is.
up to share the actual plan.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, Superintendent, members of the administration, and members of the committee. For the record, Charlie Gallo, Lynn Public Schools Compliance Officer. Thank you for having me today. You have in your packet a proposed revised, and it's really just a tweaked bullying intervention and prevention plan. That is policy JICFB. In your policy manual, there's a redlined version so you can see the edits. They are minimal. And then there's a clean version for proposed adoption tonight. Like Mr. Fry, No PowerPoint, no grand presentation. This is relatively brief. If I did have a PowerPoint, it would be one slide with 2 items. It would tell you this is about changing of the guard, and this is about corrective action compliance. In terms of changing of the guard, your proposed budget puts bullying with compliance. It now lives in curriculum. So this redraft simply replaces the curriculum seat that held it, which was Assistant Director of Health and PE, and replaces that with compliance, and a couple other minor changes, typographical changes, formatting, removal of some superfluous statements about what was done in 2010 and 2014. I've changed the language to make it gender inclusive, and I've also mentioned in the opening of it all protected classes, not just our LGBTQ plus community, but also race, national origin, disability, the list goes on. So just changes to make the language more inclusive. So that's the first point. The second point is that this is corrective action compliance. In 2010, there was a Mass state law that required districts to adopt a bullying policy. Lynn Public Schools did that. There was a revision to that law in 2014. Those laws require that the bullying policy be reviewed and readopted every 2 years. The Lynn Public Schools has done that from time to time, but not since 2020. And so there was a DESE corrective action item that surfaced recently, which actually gave us an opportunity to show the plan to DESE. They said it meets, the obligations of the law and intent of the law in full. The only issue is that it hasn't been looked at since 2020. And so that does need to happen to ensure compliance. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and following any questions, if the draft ultimately satisfies you, would respectfully ask for a motion to adopt the proposed revised bullying intervention plan, which is policy JICFB. And I want to recognize that I spoke to Member Dugan and Policy Chair Dugan because of the nature of this ask, that it would come straight to the full committee, and there was agreement on that. So thank you.
We want to start with a motion and get it on the table, and then we'll do questions, discussion.
Make a motion to accept the bullying intervention prevention plan.
Or second?
Second.
Discussion? Questions?
I was going to make a motion.
Oh, okay. Seeing none? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Attorney Gallo.
Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. Next is a vote to approve the new English Language Arts Middle School Curriculum Amplify.
So we had a presentation on the ELA middle school curriculum, and we would want now the school committee to take a vote for us to proceed, move forward, order the materials, and begin professional development and implementation of those materials.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the New English Language Arts Middle School Curriculum Amplify.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. A request to accept miscellaneous donations to Skills USA in the amount of $150. It's a recommendation of the superintendent.
The recommendation is for school committee to accept the donation for Skills USA.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Request to accept the Margaret C. Wright Memorial Alumni Award of $10,000 from Gordon College to alumni Kimberly Thornburn, teacher at Hood School. Award is to be used to support Hood School. Superintendent?
The recommendation is to accept the alumni award in the amount of $10,000 for the Hood School.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Were there any votes moving forward from the Building and Grounds Subcommittee?
Yes, there was a motion to approve the Washington STEM School renovation request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Communications and information.
We have an update on the Eastern Catholic partnership with the Celtics that Dr. Gardner to share more about that update.
Sorry? Is it possible to put slides in? You have the slides on that? Yeah, I think it's possible.
Be quick.
City Hall IT.
I promise it's fast.
He does it all.
You're different?
Safety. Yeah, Americans too, brother.
Real different, bro.
Long time ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand what the babies and memories is like now, for real. Oh, wow, look at you in the front bag. Who's this?
Handsome.
Hey, why are you on that?
We're all. Yours is broken. Just think I said.
You know, this.
Okay, so this is just a celebratory update that LPS recently concluded our Pursuing Pathways partnership with the Boston Celtics and KIP with sponsorship from Amtrak. So this unique partnership involved 12 high school students from classical and 13 from KIP. A KIP college and career teacher visited on Wednesday early release days and delivered college and career exploration curriculum. Students were also included in multiple college and career events planned and provided by the Boston Celtics and Amtrak. The inspirational program included college and career speaker panels, Boston Celtics staff, such as media specialists, Shamrock Foundation staff, business and finance staff, and HBCU graduates, historically black college and universities. Some interesting speakers included the videographer and media specialist for the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum, who largely self-taught himself video editing, and a Harvard math major who shared his story of being involved in all the intricate cost projections that went into the surprise trade for Kristaps Porzingis. Students were mentored by Boston Celtics staff such as Cash Cannon, who took time to speak to students throughout the program and was a great mentor for them. The program also included excursions. The students made multiple trips to the Auerbach Training Center and several Celtics games. The Celtics and Amtrak sponsored a trip to Washington, D.C. that included a tour of Howard University with Cedric Maxwell, a tour of the National Museum of African American History, Washington Monuments tour, and Washington Wizards game with a pregame experience where students were seated on the floor and could watch Celtics practice up close with players Marcus Smart and Derek White, stopping over to speak with the students. The Celtics generously made personalized jerseys for the students at the start of the program and gave them iPads at the end of the program. And you can look at their post-secondary plans in the note below. We're very proud of all their work, and 100% of them completed FAFSAs. And we had one Posse Scholar with a full scholarship to Bucknell University. And I'm just going to show you a few photos. So we took trips to the Auerbach Center, which was the Celtics training center, and we got to see all the banners, and below the banners is like a state-of-the-art training facility. They have this word that is up over all their equipment that says Kaizen, which in Japanese means continual improvement. And it was just awesome for the kids to see. Deborah Giro visited at that time. Molly Cohen came for one of the trips. It was very inspiring, and they did lots of career events. This is an example of a career roundtable where at every table there were Boston Celtics staff who are in careers and were talking about their college experiences and their path to their different careers. In Washington, D.C., as I said, we went to a Washington Wizards game, and they had the pregame experience where they were right down on the floor. So here's Marcus Smart. This is one view of him. And here's the view where you can see how our students were reacting to meeting Marcus Smart. And here's Derek White before he got his hair cut. And here he is speaking with the students, and they just loved seeing the Celtics. And out there on the floor was also Jason Tatum. It was great for the kids. The Howard University tour was accompanied by Cedric Maxwell, and this was a great experience. We had a great student guide who really explained everything it meant to be part of a historically black college or university. I took this picture because it was the Frederick Douglass Memorial Hall, and I just thought that was awesome. And they took a monuments tour. We have Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln. We walked up all those steps to see Abraham Lincoln. We went to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which was a very moving experience. And so just in conclusion, I just want to thank our KIPP colleagues, Justin McCarthy, who was the teacher, Katie Good, Becca Root, the Boston Celtics Shamrock Foundation, LPS Guidance Counselor Donna Doucette, LPS Early College Coordinator Derek Edmonds, who should also get some photo credits for this PowerPoint. And that's my update.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's very exciting. Thank you to the Boston Celtics and Amtrak for the support, and to that team.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner.
Great work, Dr. Gardner and team. Thank you so much.
Next is Patty Hebert will discuss the Rosetta Stone Summer Learning Program and actually the outline of implementation in phases that was shared with you a moment ago.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. So in front of you, you have the implementation plan for Rosetta Stone, and it's exciting to bring Rosetta Stone to Lynn Public Schools. It has been in existence for over 30 years, a fabulous program for students and families. Some of the benefits to using Rosetta Stone: students can progress at their own pace. It can be accessed at home. Students that go through the program, if they're secure with basic language, they can progress quickly through it. In other parts of the program, if they need more support, they can take their time, go a little bit slower with it. Rosetta Stone provides a balanced approach to language learning by integrating speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills. It incorporates real-world scenarios for students. It's aligned to the WIDA frameworks. Rosetta Stone offers professional development to teachers, equipping them with skills to help support their students. The program's fabulous. I have spent some time on it. There are a lot of resources available to teachers to use with students outside of just the students using the program. The analytics portion of the program is wonderful. There are a lot of reports that you can monitor usage for students, how they're progressing through the program, how much time they're spending on the program as well. Educators can tailor instruction accordingly to close specific learning gaps. So there are resources available. This is not a program that we're using as a common curriculum. This is just a resource. It's a support for students. It's to help with language acquisition outside of the core curriculum. The program can be accessed at home, which is fabulous, and the program is available to families as well. So families, community members, it's a great learning opportunity for all, and especially for teachers. I'm going through the program now, I'm on Unit 2, and I can see like how I'm struggling with it to try to learn Spanish. Teachers have that sense now to see what students are going through as well. We've outlined 4 phases thus far. The first one is just the planning and preparation that happened early on in the school year, December, January. Just the planning, is this something that is beneficial for Lynn Public Schools? When it was determined, the next part was, do we have the equipment to support Rosetta Stone? So looking at our laptops for students, can it be supported for everybody? The second part was the communication. So there's been communication with Lynn School Committee, with families. We immediately started with family and community coordinators to get them on board because they were spreading the messages for our families. They have gone through 2 trainings already. One was in person, 3-hour training with Rosetta Stone facilitators, and the second one was a virtual. And the family and community coordinators were able to push it out to our families. And then the rollout started with rostering our students. We have 16,000 students that are rostered, so it does take some time to make sure that everyone is in, that they have been assigned the appropriate communication. So that had been happening. It was around May that all students were rostered. Families started to sign on as well. So that took a little bit of time making sure that they were able to access the program. We have lines of communications open with our family and community coordinators. If anyone is struggling with logging into the program, we're available to help them. 2 staff sign-ups went out, and that was done purposely. It's very difficult to just assign everybody, especially for staff and families, because they can choose the language that they would like to do. Right now, it's set, anyone identified as an L student will be enrolled in an English course. Anyone that is identified as an English-speaking student will be enrolled in a Spanish course. However, there is accessibility to change that. So we will be working with students in the fall, I'll talk a little bit more about that, to change the language option for them. Families and staff members can choose through the 25 different languages that are offered. We put out some summer guidance already, how to log on to the program, and we suggested that it was probably about 30 or 40 minutes per day. Summertime, they have some reading. This is something they definitely can have access to. All students have laptops at home, so they can definitely access the program through ClassLink. So they're able to do that. We'll talk about how we're going to implement some guidelines for the fall. We also have some sessions running for families. The first one will be July 15th. It's a drop-in session. We have folks that will be here to help support any families with logging on and using the program. On the next page, you can see the enrollment so far. So students have been rostered, a total of 16,616 students. You can see the breakdown of students that are in English and Spanish courses, and then the usage for each one so far. So this was just since May, and we already have over 100 hours in English and 61 hours in Spanish, which is awesome. You can also see the breakdown with our families. 737 families from when this was printed have already registered. You can see the languages that they have chosen as well. There are 25 languages that they can choose from. These were the top 4 languages. There may have been others, but it was a smaller population that chose those languages. And then faculty and staff that have signed on already. The next one, it should be coming up as of July, about, I was told, July 2nd. The next round of staff members should be up and running. In the fall, the plan is to schedule some PD for our teachers. And again, it's just to familiarize themselves with the platform, to see what their students are doing, and then possibly how can they help them as well. Our students, being a teacher for over 15 years, our students are eager to learn. So there are other resources that could help our students. Again, it's not going to be in place of a program. It will just be used to supplement. We are looking to establish a Rosetta Stone team made up of some teachers. I would love to see some students on there. I'm putting out feelers now who will be part of that, different departments, to make sure that we are using it correctly and appropriately for our students and for our teachers as well. Throughout the summer, I will be sending out a survey to our families and our students. What do they like about the program? What could be different? How do you see this being used going forward for you? So we will be monitoring. We're going to gather that feedback and monitor it closely, make sure we're doing the right thing for our students. And we'll make necessary adjustments along the way. Rosetta Stone has wonderful PD that's offered. They are constantly available to us to send us data reports. I've requested that does happen periodically, that we get the reports of usage and all that, and we'll keep in close contact with them to see what could we be doing differently to get more people involved. They have shared different districts throughout Massachusetts that use it. Sharon was on there, Shawsheen Tech. One thing that they did in Shawsheen, students were able to sign up for Italian, and kids went to Italy. So they said it was amazing, the amount of students that learned Italian. We would love to set something up similar. Those of you that have been here for a while know our First in Math. We used to celebrate at school committee meetings. We had trophies for students. They earned badges. It was a big celebration in schools. But we're looking to do something like that. Rosetta Stone is working with their marketing team to help us facilitate that. So be on the lookout for some fun things that'll be happening. And then we will be pushing through different success stories of our students, of our families, teachers, and how they're doing along the way with Rosetta Stone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Member Gailey, Member Pena.
I, too, have almost finished Lesson 1. And I have a goal that I am going to be saying my speeches in both Spanish and in English. Nice. Because it is such a joy to use this program. And as an educator, it really is like when a friend of mine's son had dyslexia, to try to understand how the brain works for dyslexia. When a child is learning another language, I feel like that child. And right now, I am learning it. And it's like sort of embarrassing because I'll just say things out loud like, hey, bebe, oh, bebe, agua. And I am learning things. But the pronouns are a little tricky. I recall when we were talking about MLEs or ELLs, when I first got on, I approached a student of mine to ask her how she learned her language. How did you learn English? I asked a very specific question. She said, in kindergarten, I was in Florida, in Miami, and I don't know whatever the teacher did, but by the time I finished kindergarten, I was speaking English. Wow. So I'm hoping that this is the key, that they will be walking out of kindergarten like dual language and be able to understand our English, what we have curriculum in English for, and also their native language. So I'm learning, and everybody should try it. It's not bad.
I have a 45-minute ride home every day, so that's what I'm doing. That's great.
I was like 2 or 3 hours one day. I know you guys don't have it, but I was just sitting there, so it was interesting.
Thank you.
Oh, and one other thing, I'm Irish, and I always make a joke of having a flat tongue, but the good news is I'm learning to roll my R's through this program. It just sort of works. It's sort of weird. But anyway, thank you.
It's great. Thank you. Member Pena.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for this, this program, Rosetta Stone. especially when we can see parents engaging with our students, and because, you know, many of them want to know what's going on and to get involved, and this is just like another component to engage that. You know, I had a question, because recently you had another rollout. Is this number, the number you have for people enrolled, is that from just recent, or are we still going to have, is there still an update?
This is still an update. This is ongoing, so families are constantly enrolling. It's the teachers that there were 2 different times.
Yes.
The first time ended, they enrolled. The second one just ended on the 26th. So
For the parents?
for the
Just
staff.
For the, okay, for
Yes.
staff, okay.
Yep, so that's
And
it.
that number's accurate, 642 for staff, or is it 846 total?
For staff, 846. The, so 642 are enrolled in Spanish.
In Spanish only,
Yes.
okay.
23 in Italian.
Italians.
The numbers don't match up because there might be some other languages that
Yeah.
have been chosen.
Yeah, could we Arabic,
Yes.
just different,
Yes.
Khmer. Mm-hmm. This is awesome, I like
So
that.
we'll do a push again for families to just try to get them enrolled.
And obviously, it's still ongoing with the roster, because
Yes.
we're getting new enrollments and
Yes.
et cetera. All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much for the presentation and everyone's work on this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So lastly, the superintendent's report. As the school year ends, we reflect on a period of remarkable progress, growth, resilience, and achievement within our school district. Our students have excelled academically and personally, embracing challenges and demonstrating unwavering dedication to their studies and extracurricular activities. Teachers and staff have worked tirelessly to create an enriching and supportive environment, fostering a love of learning and a strong sense of community this school year. With memorable milestones from innovative classroom projects and students voicing their need for inclusivity to outstanding performances in the arts and athletics, I want to celebrate the collective efforts of our students, educators, and families. A reminder to all that Curriculum and Instruction has posted summer reading, language development guidelines, and resources on the district website for accessibility. I encourage all students to engage in activities with community partners, pursue creative projects, develop reading lists outside of recommended reading, find community service opportunities, and enjoy outdoor activities this summer. As we look forward to the upcoming year, I'm filled with excitement and anticipation. I am eager to see us continue to build on the accomplishments of our students and the collaborative efforts of all stakeholders. The new school year, 24-25, will be another opportunity for us to align our vision, grounded in equity, with the current reality of the student experience. One day, not long ago, and reflecting on the state of where we are and how much progress we've made during the past year and several months, as Deputy Ruggiero and I transitioned through now, Deputy Ruggiero shared this quote with me, and I've read it a couple of times since then, and I want to share it with you today, and I want to leave with you this meaningful quote until school resumes. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. There is no time for apathy or complacency. And this is a time for vigorous and positive action. And those were the wise words of Martin Luther King Jr. I am confident that together we will make the upcoming school year a success, and I wish you all a well-deserved summer break. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. That is the end of our formal agenda, but before we adjourn, I would like to please invite Kimberly Powers up. Being her last school committee meeting, it is just our honor to be able to recognize your incredible service to the Lynn Public Schools over the last few decades. Having worked with Kim now for several years, I know that she has shown an incredible dedication to our district, to our students, from her work as a principal to her work at the district level, never losing sight of the power of learning and the discipline of education and how that can change our students' lives, and thinking about for many years now, thinking about students as holistic people and meeting those needs inside the classroom as well as outside the classroom, and really appreciate your leadership on that issue and many others over the years. And so I would like to share this official citation of the mayor's office. It says, "Be it known that Mayor Jared C. Nicholson hereby extends his most sincere congratulations and his great appreciation to Kimberly Powers in recognition of 35 years of dedicated service." I emphasize that because they're yeah. There is true power and inspiration to that kind of longevity because, as we just talked about, there is an urgency to the work. It is incredibly important. We have the lives of our city's residents before us and on our shoulders as we do this work, and to have that kind of longevity really takes a deep inner commitment to these issues and to our families, and so it's a big deal. To the Lynn Public Schools, and best wishes in your retirement. Be it further known that the entire city of Lynn extends its best wishes for continued success, great joy, and happiness. Congratulations.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you so much, everyone.
Can I get a picture? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Just, with that quote from Dr. Alvarez and recognizing 35 years, I just want to comment that I'm struck every year by, at this time of year, how look how much has happened in a school year over the last 12 months. And, people think of it as school years, right? But our educators, our families, they never stop thinking about education because of how important it is. And so at this moment, we're finishing the 2023-2024 school year, and we're immediately rolling into the 2024-2025 school year. As you all know, so much work happens over these summer months in planning and preparation, and there is both, I think, at times some trials and tribulations about how much responsibility that is to dive right back in, but also I think a moment of renewed hope to see that we have this opportunity to shape our district's future for the coming year. And so I just want to thank everyone for all your work and help as we roll into the next school year. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Have a great summer, everyone.
Have a great summer. Nice.